The Kennedale City Council special meeting is called to order at 5:30, February 8th at 2024. We're being held at the City Hall chamber at 405 Municipal Drive. Members of the public may join in person or access a live feed at www.cityofkennedale.com/video. The virtual option does not allow for public comment. To address the City Council regarding an agenda item, please submit a request to speak form. From the beginning of the meeting, speakers are allotted 3 minutes and must limit their comments to the subject indicated on the form. They should address the City Council as a whole rather than an individual or staff member. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, the City Council may reserve the right to adjourn to executive session, closed session at any time during the meeting to seek legal advice with the city attorney on any item posted on the agenda. May I get a roll call, please?
Councilman Brian Griffith.
Present.
Councilman Jeff Navarez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I ask the Reverend Dr. Nelda Barrett Moraine to lead us in our invitation. If you could, please stand.
Okay, there we go. You can hear me now because I can hear me. Okay, amen. Good evening to everybody, and just remember that we serve a true and a living God. And during this Black History Month and every day of the year, just focus on our commonalities and not our differences. We all want the same thing for our children and grandchildren and for our families. So just think about treating your neighbor as yourself. So let us pray. Oh God, we come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God of love who is with us now in this very room. Lord, you never leave us nor forsake us. Your grace has brought us this far, and your grace will never leave us. It will lead us home. We thank you for making each of us in this room, every person we meet, every citizen of this city, and every city in your own image, with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. So thank you tonight, O Lord, for these your servants, our mayor pro tem, our city manager, our city staff, our city council members. I give thanks for the way of service that they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, carrying joy and hope, trusting that you alone can hold us together, O God, in your love and peace. Help us, Lord, to trust you more than our fears and our wounds and even our accomplishments. May we lean on your everlasting arms tonight. For God, you are so worthy of all the glory and honor and praise. We pray for families who are going through a grieving and sorrowing and loss of their family and their loved ones, Lord. We ask that you be with them all. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Nelda. Please remain standing for our pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, we're going to go into visitor and citizen forum. Ms. Lynn Ballister, just a reminder, you have 3 minutes. Please give your name and your address before you speak.
Pardon? Oh, Lynn Ballister, and I'm here on behalf of 501 and 509 South New Hope Road. My client is Musa Ashraf, and I'm speaking on his behalf. I don't know if you guys have this in front of you, but right now it looks like they're considering the blue line. And we are here to try and persuade the city to possibly go with the green line. And my client is willing to give up, relinquish that property to the city for free if we could possibly go green. The blue line takes 2 of his properties at the same time. It goes through 501 and 509. Bringing it down to the green line, it would only take up 509. That's it. Under 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker would be Ms. Tammy Patterson. Ms. Patterson, just a reminder, you have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Tammy Patterson. My husband and I reside at 400 North Little School Road in Kennedale. The sewer line agenda item C2 is what I'm here today for. That was our property that was flooded by sewer water. So we do not know how long this sewer line has been broken or how long it has been leaking, okay? There's a 10-foot easement on our property. You probably have all the information that you have. We have been working with the city staff and things, and that's been good. We would like to know if the soil on our property is damaged, okay? Because we don't know how long it's been leaking. There is a sinkhole near the area between those flags that are set that the line is broken. And so I think you're required to report that with the TCEQ. So I think there probably was a report sent in, hopefully. And we just wondered if there has been a soil analysis or if there will be one. We do know they're working on, getting it replaced. So that's really all I have.
Thank you very much. Moving on to work session. Line item 1, Freeze and Nichols updates of the following project: North Little School Road extension, Valley Lane Bridge repair, and Averett Road Bridge repair.
Still on? Good. Hi, good afternoon, or good evening. Sidney Green, Freeze and Nichols, project manager for all the listed projects at Little School Road and the bridge improvement projects for Valley Lane and Averett Road. I guess general update for Little School Road. Last year, we presented 3 different alternative options. City Council gave their preferred alignment option, the one that kind of swiveled, and I believe it was a combination of the orange and blue alignments. From there, we proceeded with kind of hydraulic and environmental analysis of just the portion between Kennedy Parkway and New Hope Road. We concluded those assessments toward the end of last year, around December 2023. And we've submitted a letter to THC, Texas Historical Commission. We've just received comments back on that. There's nothing major on that letter, but we're addressing that this month. And then I guess the more recent update is we're currently in coordination with Union Pacific Railroad. We presented them a conceptual concept plan to the railroad, and they're hoping to meet with Seth out there on site to review that crossing next month. And That's the latest update on Little School Road. Were there any specific questions for that project?
On the current map, you're indicating, is that the one that was negotiated between the councilman meeting that we had several months back and what their recommendation is? That what this map is, current map?
Correct, yeah. If you're looking at the exhibit that just has a single alignment, that's the preferred alignment selection. I think for the more recent exhibit, it was just one yellow alignment. Yeah, that's the latest.
Okay. Do you know the address that actually at New Hope it's crossing? For instance, one of the speakers indicated it's 509 and 501. Is that what she's referring to with this route, this current route?
Correct. Is that property is that on the west side or the east side of New Hope Road? Okay. Okay.
It should be the east side.
Yeah, if it's on the east side, then. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Understand. Yeah. I know where it crosses. There's like 3 different locations on the east side of New Hope Road, so I can't tell you off the top of my head which property that is, but we'll definitely look at that for sure. Sure. Yeah.
That's east side, so it's this right here. He's wanting to go further north. Yeah, she's wanting to no, over here.
Does anybody got any more questions with the Little Road extension?
So the other project.
I'm sorry, I got one more.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to, I know you have a meeting next week with the railroad. Currently, as it crosses the railroad track now, there's between the railroad and the place where it starts its curve, is that based off of the footage that's needed to have an overpass?
So, but are you telling me between the railroad track and Kennewick Parkway or on the other side where it starts to curve? Okay.
So at the point that we max the height of going over the track, do you know what the footage is from that point to the, I guess, ground level?
Yeah, to the existing ground, it's between 30 and 35 feet because we need to get at minimum underneath the deck of the bridge, 29 feet over the railroad track. And so we're coming over with a vertical curve, and so it's adding a little bit more to that, but yeah, between 30 and 35 feet.
So at max, how long does it take for the grade to go down? Are we looking at another, say, 200 feet, 300 feet from the max height? Do you know what that footage is?
It was closer to 700 feet. It's because you're somehow so high, and we're looking at a 60% slope down to, well, the other thing too is that the existing ground kind of falls as you go further west, and so it's kind of chasing that grade, and so it's much longer than 200 feet.
I just want to make sure we clarify the reason why we have a straight shot, then we have a curve. And understanding that curve is also there because then we go into another flood
Right.
zone.
Yeah, the curve is mainly for the kind of more shortened perpendicular crossing with the floodplain. But that whole section, we're still going to be chasing grade and coming down, even through some of those curves. Yeah, and the curves are more so for the design speed too. Being designed for 40 miles an hour design speed.
Okay, thank you for clarifying it.
Can you also clarify for me just something real fast?
Yeah.
So the green obviously will connect to Linda, and so the project would stop by that connection? Or are we also going to push through Linda and redo that road as well?
So the green alignment was one of the alternatives we presented, but the council preferred the alignment that goes south of Linda, not connecting to Linda. So the proposed preferred alignment that we're showing is south of Linda, not connected to Linda.
The blue line, yeah. Yeah, I'm asking on the green one, though, if we do that project, are you guys including repaving Linda? Or are we going to stop the project when we connect to Linda?
That's repaving Linda, yeah.
That's all the questions I have.
Any more questions on it? Then we'll move on to the Valley Lane Bridge repair.
Yeah, so for the Valley Lane, and so specifically Valley Lane, well, I guess let's talk about them both, but for both Valley and Abbott Road, the project's been on hold for, since 2020, when we first finished up those plans. We put it on hold because we wanted to focus, the direction at the time was to focus on New Hope Road reconstruction for the bridge, the bridge class culvert. And then, yeah, since then, we've most recently picked that project back up with New Hope being complete. And we are basically looking to finish out the project, update the plant and specs, and get it ready for advertising and bid here and construction here in the next few months. We got direction from the city on kind of what the timeframes for that should be. Just a matter of just updating those specs and getting that ready for advertisement. And I guess to give a general background of that project, it's really for Valley Lane. It's there's really no guardrail over that bridge, and so the project was basically to put in new traffic rail, new metal beam guard fence, and just make that an overall safer bridge crossing. And then for Abbott Road, kind of the same timeframes, because we want to bid those projects together. It's kind of repaving the asphalt and adding some additional stone riprap along the banks to help basically stabilize those slopes. Yeah, that's just our update.
We also, this is also in reference to having an agreement with TxDOT once they completed the New Hope Bridge.
Correct, yeah. Both Abbott Road and Valley Lane were kind of an equal match part of the connection of New Hope Road. Normally it's an 80-20% match, but instead New Hope Road was 100% TxDOT. Well, the intent was 100% TxDOT, and then the 20% would be the bridge improvements for Valley Lane and Abbott Road. And so once the completion of New Hope Road was complete, there's like a 3-year time frame between the construction for New Hope Road ending and needing to have the bridge improvements for Valley and Abbott Road in place. That coordination with TxDOT is pretty minimal, really just say, take a picture of, hey, we did these bridge improvements, send it to TxDOT, and everybody's happy, so.
Anybody have any questions?
Also, just to let you know, this will be a bond or one of our bond fundings.
If nobody has any questions, all right. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on to the Charter Study Committee. Council, in your council packet, you've received the minutes from the 3 meetings we had for the charter and the alternate languages that the Charter Committee came up with. Do y'all have any questions or anything? If we have no questions, we'll move on.
Just generally for you, Mr. Michaels, just how did the meetings go? Why did the committee go to this direction? Just kind of a summation?
On the alternate language? Well, the committee went good. Everybody was really involved with the meeting itself. We had numerous deals come up. One of them was the 3-year terms, but after we did a lot of research, it was pretty expensive to do 3-year terms. If you notice on your packet, there's an alternate language for the mayor pro tem, and that's going to be section 3.03. The alternate language, there was 2 parts. And that's the direction the committee wanted to go, but then they did alternate number 2, which pretty well says the mayor would actually, or the mayor pro tem will assume the role of the mayor in the vacancy of the mayor. So, and then we would appoint a council member to the next election. Other than that, I mean, it was a great meeting. Everything went good. The next step is approving the ordinance and then getting it on the election for the citizens to vote.
Do we need to take a vote on alternate 1 or alternate 2?
The committee at the time voted to do alternate 2. So, but I mean, the wording's there for either one, but they it unanimously passed the committee to do alternate 2.
So basically, in the end, the committee just were clarifying some holes that we had because of so many, the turnover we've had up here on the diocese.
Yes, that would be correct.
And so there's nothing else but this, just the direction of appointments and the chain of command for mayor and pro tem.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's good for a city for every 5 years to review their charter, because the charter is basically our constitution. So this was my second charter review, and maybe another 5 years, if the council stables, we might be able to go for 3-year terms.
So when we vote today, we'll be voting on, if we approve it as it is, it's number 2, alternate 2, correct?
That is correct. Number 2 on section 3.03, and then the other one is 3.06 is just the filling a vacancy for council. The alternate 2 is the correct one that the committee voted on and approved.
Can you define or help me understand and I'm referring to 3.6. It says until the next uniform election date. What is that date?
Well, with a council that runs off 2-year terms, the next uniform election date would either be in May or November. So we would call a special meeting to have an election to fill that council seat.
So what we're saying is if somebody gets voted in May and by July they quit, we will go to vote by November.
Right, what we'll do, we would make an appointment, it'll be a temporary appointment till the November election.
Okay.
And then they would run.
Okay, that was my next question, make sure that we still have the power to appoint in the interim.
Right, we do.
Is it more costly to have them run in a November election than it would be to have them run in the regular May election?
I don't think the cost is really that much. I mean, as long as there's an election going on, that's where the cost comes in. So if there's no election in November statewide, then, I mean, we would have to pay to call that special election.
What about in a case where there was an appointment and that specific seat's going to be up in the May election, so then the appointee has to run in November, but that seat would still be up for its regular term that following May? Would that individual have to run in November and then turn around and run consecutively in May?
From my understanding, that would be correct.
I make a recommendation. My recommendation would be to have it as a local election and not necessarily as a midterm election. Basically, continue to have, if we need an election every year, it will be every 12 months in May and not necessarily every possible 6 months. So you wouldn't have one in November, then turn around and have another one in May, then have another one in November, or the possibility of it.
But that's saying the worst-case scenario. I mean, that's if you have a council member
We
that,
had worst-case scenarios.
Good,
like
good.
well,
policy.
and I know, we've been in the worst-case scenario.
Well, good policy writing is, indicative by having some forethought about what is the worst-case scenario. And I like the recommendation. I don't think it's sensible to put ourselves in a position where we end up with a situation at any point in time where someone's running, they were appointed, then they ran in November, and then they had to turn around and run again in May. To me, that's kind of,
Well, if it was
Redundant.
the year of odds and an even had to do this, then they would just serve the final year, or does it reset the 2 years? So they run election in May for one more year and then have to rerun the following year. Sounds like
Yes,
my
that's
elections the
correct.
last 5 years.
I mean, the other option is not changing 3.06 and keeping it the same, to where we can appoint or run a special election.
I don't have a problem with correctness. I was just trying to go down the rabbit hole of Darrell's recommendation. Okay, it makes more sense to run a local election on a local election, but at the same time, there's the other side of the coin. You have more people show up for November election, the statewide or federal elections. It's just, we almost increased our election around here about 40%. So that makes it more numbers, and I guess I can go either way on that. I can see the benefits of just doing local Mays, but if this comes up again, it wouldn't hurt, I guess, to have it in November, except that we don't have anything that we vote for normally in a November election.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
What sounded good, and I said a lot of stuff.
you just said you'd go either way, and you said,
Yeah,
sounds
I
good
can
to me.
go either way. I don't mind it being on the next election. I think the biggest complaint over the years was the cost, which to me is irrelevant. If it should be, the people want to speak, they don't care what the cost is. I see Darrell's point as far as November elections. It's just from a political side of it all. But if I think the biggest complaint is that if we keep going down the way that we have been the last couple of years, where a lot of city councilmen have been dropping and we've been appointing, this does kind of fix it.
Another thing we need to look at too is the state itself has been talking for the past 5 years to do away with May elections and have everything in November anyway.
Yeah, it's not getting very good traction. Because the cities don't want to get lost in a November election. If you look at the last two November elections, one of them was, 13 pages?
Right.
Last year, I believe it was. It was 24 for Mansfield, because they stuck a lot of local stuff on there, and that's what they're trying to prevent, is we're there at the booth for more than 5 minutes. And there's also a lot of information that the voters would have to know going into something like that.
I like Darrell's recommendation, and I'd like to see us fix it to the May election. If that, if Jeff's indicated he'll support that, so I'll just make a motion that we make that adjustment to move it, to fix it to the May election instead of having them run in November and then having to turn around and run in May.
Well, we are the council, we're the ones that make the decision on that. If that's the direction everybody wants to go, then when we get to this on the agenda, we'll just change the wording on it when we vote, and then we'll have to rewrite the ordinance, but the ordinance would be approved, and so.
What is your thoughts on it?
I don't have a problem with it either way. I mean, we can either keep it the same, or we can, and it's, the way I look at it is, we're elected officials, and we should be elected, and we shouldn't be appointed. I mean, there's a a deal to appoint somebody as a temporary, then you come in and then have an election. And if that person that's temporary appointed wants to run for that seat, then that person would run for that seat. If that person's doing good, maybe nobody will run against them. I don't know.
So you don't have a problem with if we appoint in, let's say, October, that we wait till May and don't do November? I'm sorry, bad example, August.
Well,
We appoint in August.
if you're looking for an example, I'm a prime example. So you indicated worst-case scenario, and it's a rarity, but the thing is that literally just happened with my appointment.
Yeah.
I stepped in July. There's plenty of time for me to run on a November election, and then I have to turn around and run again in a May election. It's case in point, it's already just happened. I still think that it's good to make the adjustment. I just don't think it's good policy to have it where you have a occurrence where someone's going to have to run back-to-back elections from November to May. To me, that is a little redundant and senseless. That's just my opinion on it.
And I have to agree, as somebody who's ran back-to-back elections, it's, you know, we have other lives, it's not like we get paid $1 up here. So I think I can agree with that. It's just rough. It is rough back-to-back.
So I'll make 2 points on that instead of just speculating. 2 points are, when elected officials are spending their time during election season, what are they not doing? So you're spending time, energy, and effort doing that. I'm just saying, when you create a scenario when there's that many back-to-back, when someone has to run, that puts a heavy burden on them to do that and not focus on serving the community, number one. The other part of that same scenario is that you have a high turnover potential. And one of the reasons why our terms are set for 2 years instead of 6 months or a single year is because you want to have some sort of continuity while you're working on projects and things of that nature. So you're creating another scenario where you're going to have a high turnover rate within 6 months. So those are just 2 points I'd like to make about the reason why I feel the way I feel about it.
So if we did it this way, there's just a minor adjustment to that too, which would be, it wouldn't be the next election, it would be the next local election, is the terminology on that? But we still would be editing too.
Right, that is correct. But then again, if you sit there and look at it, if you look at section 3.06 now, it gives the council the ability to appoint or call special elections. So we could just take the alternate wording out and not even change 3.06. So, and leave it up to the council to make that a decision if that ever happens.
Well, the wording forces council to do at least May, the way we're talking about it. The current wording, it could be indefinite, basically, until that spots up.
But I look at it the same way with even the 3.03. I mean, like right now, I'm mayor pro tem. The mayor can step down, and guess what? I become mayor. But then, if it happens after February 16th, there would be no way for me to get on the ballot.
Yeah. But you would be,
So I would lose my council seat, and I would lose the mayor's seat because I wouldn't be able to run. Now, the other alternate that I have is to resign as the mayor pro tem if that came up. And then you reappoint a mayor pro tem, and then that mayor pro tem runs. So, I mean, it's the same scenario both ways you look at it for the mayor pro tem and a council member.
I'm trying to chew on what you said. How would you lose the spot? It would just run until the next following election that we can get you in, which would be the May election, if we're clarifying that.
Okay, this year is the mayor election.
Yeah.
In 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Worst case-
If the mayor quits in March, is what you're saying.
Worst case scenario, Jan has reapplied to become mayor. And I don't know who else is going to be applying to do that. But if Jan decides to step down before the May election, then by this, if this is approved by the voters, I become mayor, but then I have no way of running a campaign because I could not get on the election.
Yeah, so
So-
in that scenario, though, Jan will still be on the election. Let's say she won, because let's say she's the only person, right? She wins, she still steps down, you still are the pro tem, you're still mayor for another year. Yeah, I'm saying that. If she quits before. No, that's not true. Once you get on election and once that deadline passed, you're still on that. You only have another couple more weeks to withdraw. Even if you withdraw, you're still on the ballot. If you're still on the ballot, let's say you won, because there has been instances in the United States where people quit and they won. She can say, I don't want to do it, and it still falls into the mayor pro tem to continue that service until there's another election. That's how it works. That's election law.
But at that time, I wouldn't be mayor pro tem, I would be mayor.
You'll be mayor for the whole, and if we can clarify until the next May election, I guess, but you would be mayor for 14 months, basically.
I think that's something that would probably have to have clarifications with an attorney, because once the
And that's a big
mayor, once the
hypothetical.
mayor steps down, then I become the mayor. I'm no longer mayor pro tem.
Correct.
So I can't be mayor and then go back down to be mayor pro tem because
You're
an
right.
election cycle's come up.
And in my scenario, if she doesn't step up getting elected, she refuses, then it still falls on you moving forward. That's how it works, because you will still be it.
But
The
then-
question is do we make you run the next May?
What if another person's ran against her and won?
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
That doesn't matter.
we can,
They lost, and that's what it comes down to. Then it goes to our order of operations internally.
we can pro and con this all night long. I mean,
Yeah,
basically.
and I hate hypotheticals, but
Right.
we've been living hypotheticals for about 4 years around here.
Right.
But I know I'm right in this. Even if she had an opponent and she won and she refused to do it, it goes back to us and internally. We would appoint if it was a city councilman, but in the mayor, we have a direct line of what happens. The mayor pro tem's always already the mayor. That will continue until the next election cycle. Currently, how we have it. So the question is does this change it to where it would make you run the following May, or wait for that next election cycle 2 years later?
That question was brought up to Ms. Elam, the attorney, and pretty much it said that I would just lose out. I mean, basically.
I don't agree with her
I would,
assessment on that.
if I could not meet the election and be voted in because of the timeline, then when someone resigned and I couldn't get on the ballot, then there's no way
I
for
understand
me
what
to
you're saying.
be.
I understand what you're saying.
So basically, I would lose my mayor pro
Yeah,
tem,
you
I
would.
would lose my council seat, mayor pro tem, and the mayor because I couldn't meet the election.
You're right. I understand. Now I understand what you were talking about.
So it's the same scenario with filling a council seat
The
too.
mayor pro tem would take over in the May if that was the scenario. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're correct. I understand what you're saying now. Okay.
Good thing this is a work session.
Well, I want to make sure we hammer it out and get it right. Like it will, I want to make sure we bring something to the people to vote on in May that they would be proud of.
Councilman Griff, you got some doubts or something?
You can war game this any way you want, but you're never going to have a one-size-fits-all. So
True.
the law and the Constitution's the same way. They call it a living document for a reason. It is impossible to contemplate every possible scenario that could take place with something. That is why these things are intended to be a little bit more loose, because the
And that is
idea
correct.
is your elected officials need to be leaders and problem solve these things on a case-by-case scenario. That doesn't mean you just leave it all open to whatever kind of interpretation you want. It just means you frame it out and put yourself in the best scenario to move forward in a way that represents the wants and needs of the community. That's it. Everything else is just noise.
You're 100% correct, and that's why our charter's done the same way, so.
And a 3-month mayor might be the best mayor we ever had. I'm just saying. Thank you for clarifying with me, just talking it out with me. I want to make sure it was right in my head.
Thank you, Jed. Councilman Navarez. Any more questions on the charter committee?
I just wanted to publicly say thank you to our charter committee members. Just so the public knows, we had several former mayors, several people who were on the previous committees as well, the charter committees, and they did a great job. And I appreciate you, Mr. Michaels, running that up for us and smoothing it out before the deadline.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, number 3, updates the Tarrant County Emergency Service Agreement.
Yes, the last two previous council meetings, we had tabled this item. I wanted to come forward and advise the council that an agreement has come between ESD1 and the city in reference to hold off of electing to take on that additional responsibility in the district that was provided to us. We're going to continue with the current ILA that we have in place, and we plan to bring that to you on the 20th.
Okay, sounds good to me. Anybody got any questions for the city manager?
That sounds great to me. I just wanted to encourage the chief and you, Darrell, as well, to keep working on things like that. The more that we can do for our community, the more things that we can get back from the county. I think the biggest problem with small cities is that we pay a lot of taxes into the county and we sometimes get ignored. And it's been a mission of myself and previous council for the last 10 years to make sure that we get a lot of that money back, and we've all done a good job of that. So keep pushing forward on things like this.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, moving forward. Item number 4, discuss regarding the authorization for the city manager to hire additional 2 public work employees. Mr. City Manager?
The idea behind this, we're currently understaffed by 1 position. As we move forward through the spring, summer 2024, we're anticipating to have future road expansions as far as like New Hope Road, Swinney Height Road, those 2 being reconstructed by the Tarrant County Precinct 2 maintenance. We've had agreements in the past for this. As you know, November, the agreement that we had with Precinct 2 was pulled for a short time. I'm anticipating as we move forward, that agreement will come to fruition and we'll be able to move forward. In that agreement, one of the things that is required is for us to provide flaggers. So we'll need 2 employees to help flag that construction from going from basically Kennedale Parkway to Hudson Village Creek. So we'll need to provide a flagger on each side of that construction area. As we move forward, generally speaking, our past is that we have lost public works employees for whatever reasons as we go through the hot time of the year. I would like to jump in front of this process and see if we can hire 2 part-time employees to help us, one, have staff on board, and if we do lose someone, we have someone that can fill in immediately. And then on top of that, once we go forward, and hopefully the idea is we don't lose any employees, these 2 part-times can fill in to subsidize that road construction project. New Hope Road is projected to be 6 months. Swinney Height is roughly 3 to 4 months. So we have a 1-year time frame that ultimately, if we don't choose to do this, we'll lose 2 employees on public works that cannot fulfill what's being asked of them currently. So it would put even a heavier burden on public works without trying to accommodate for that possible loss. My recommendation is obviously that we put 2 part-time employees in place to help. That could help currently, and then obviously as we move forward, it will help us with the projects that we have.
Do we have any questions?
Just a couple. So budgetary wise, obviously this is not budgeted in. How does this work out? Are we under budget right now, over budget? Like, how does this work out with us?
Currently, we're 1 Public Works employee short, so we're already making savings. Savings are taking place just for that 1 employee. As we move forward, we're anticipating it'll probably take at least another month to get that employee in place, go through the process of getting them on board. So we already have savings in that regard. Also, with that, we can use funding from our bonds, for our transportation bonds, to pay for that, due because of where, obviously where it's taking place.
Okay, and then you want these temporary workers to be like contract workers that when you lose a position, a full-time position, you have somebody who's trained and ready to go to come up as well.
That's correct.
And then if we don't have anybody leave, because we have a small staff here, you hope to perpetuate with other projects, just kind of fill in the gaps?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So for example, in the summers, our guys are overworked because of all the mowing. They can get in there and help with the mowing.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Griff, you got any questions? I got one question. How many hours does a part-time employee work?
They can work up to 31, 32 hours.
And then after 31 hours, they receive overtime?
It wouldn't be overtime. At point that, and Caroline may be able to help me out here, at one point it becomes a norm, obviously.
Normally 40-hour work week.
It
So
changes.
they become an employee. Because the question I have is, normally the county works Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days. So that's 40 hours a week. So once they hit their 31 hours on Wednesday, that means the full-time employees will have to go out there and direct traffic.
That's correct.
So is that defeating the purpose?
Not necessarily. The aspect of it right now is have the two part-time. We can fulfill it and we could use the additional help as we go into the rainy season, as we go into the mowing season, landscaping. So it'd be beneficial as a part-time. We're not having to pay any medical, we're not paying benefits in that sense. So that expense is not there. We also anticipate there's possibility of losing employees as we go into these months, particularly when we're talking about the heat. It's just unfortunate sometimes it does happen. That way, if this person's on board, we're not necessarily missing man hours of being able to keep up with the task that's already in front of us. If that person, we continue to be fully staffed, that part-time would be addressed, dealing with the transportation, and at the point that we're confident, then we can pull them onto it as a full-time employee, and we can utilize the bond money to be able to do that, or to use them as a contractor.
So right now, we have 8 full-time public workers,
10, including,
and then we have
the
one
direct-
part-time. So we have 10 employees plus one part-time.
that'd be 10 total,
Okay. Okay.
top to bottom.
I have no further questions.
No more questions, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman Navarez.
Me? Oh, yeah, I'm good.
All right, we'll move forward. Item number 5 of the work session, 2023 annual report for the Kennedale Public Library, the Community Center, and the Senior Citizen.
Hi,
Ms. Elizabeth?
shall I barrel ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Rayanne, thank you very much for doing that for me. So go ahead and go to the first one. So the library, senior center, and communications departments have seen enormous growth in the last year. So I'm super happy to share that with you. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do, our mission, and our goals, and where we're heading. So go ahead. All right. So I'll just read this a little bit while she's waiting. So the mission for the library is to serve as a thriving community center that provides access to information and resources to educate, empower, and enrich and welcome our community. So Perfect. You can go to the next one. Excellent. So the vision is that the library connects the community with library services for personal enjoyment, growth, and enrichment through lots of different ways. So we provide diverse resources in multiple accessible formats. We have innovative programs and technology to help increase knowledge, awareness, and quality of life for members of all of our community. We support local education programs and self-directed lifelong learning opportunities. And we hope to be a community gathering space for everyone, and we try to help preserve local history. The goals are to provide superior customer service to all library users, regardless of where they come from or where they're going. We want to be the first choice for everyone in our community for their information needs, whether it be for education or for personal growth. We want to anticipate and meet the changing community needs. So we want to make sure we're keeping tabs on what's going on in our community, where we have needs, and how we can fill them. We want to guarantee equitable access to library resources and services. Everyone deserves access to everything. We want to be a strong and effective partner in the community. So this is the staff at the library. There are 6 of us now. We have our newest person, who is Sarah Hooser. She's our new library programming and event coordinator. And the reason I mention her in particular is because with Sarah, we anticipate increasing our activities, numbers, and programs 10, 20, 30-fold this year. So we're hoping to be able to blow our numbers out of the water next year. So fingers crossed. So as you can see, our overall attendance in programming increased. We went from 3,356 in 22 to 4,839 in 23. In our summer reading program alone, we went from 1,050 in 22 to 1,779 in 23. We actually have an issue that we're working on resolving where we don't fit in the community room for our programs anymore. We filled it to the brim for all of our programs to the point where we were threatened with violating fire code. But that's okay, right? Okay, then summer reading minutes, which is very, very exciting. So we count, every person turns in however many minutes they've read during the course of summer reading. And this year we had adults and children report their hours. We had 375,410 minutes read by the individuals in our reading program, which is incredible. That's almost double what we did the year before, which is fantastic. So in terms of visits to the library, those increased by almost 2,000 visits, and materials borrowed went up by almost 2,000 as well. We saw an increase in ebooks, and e-audiobooks is our highest circulation point, which I anticipate that being the trend from now on. So I'm not going to read all of these accomplishments. You've seen them before, but I did want to point out that we've done a lot in terms of technology increases in the library. We have installed the mobile printing. We've installed self-checkout. We have new e-reader programs that you can check out from. We cleaned up our web page. We've offered computer classes for adults. There's all kinds of things that are leaning towards the technology world that we've been lacking for a long time. So we're trying to fill some gaps that we've had. We've done some spectacular community enhancements like Story Walk, which I still think is spectacular. And then just last week, I received notification that we received the 2023 Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award from the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. So we're pretty proud of that. These are just examples of programs that have never been done before that we've brought into the library. And then pictures of happy people. So the Senior Center, the mission for the Senior Center is to provide access to community resources, nutrition, health, and entertainment that help bring people together for positive living experiences. So everybody over the age of 55 is welcome to come to the programs that we offer at the Senior Center, and that is to meet their needs, but also improve their quality of life, which is, good. So last year actually in 2022 is when we established the Meals on Wheels program, but it didn't really get moving until 2023. So we started in November. We saw an instant increase of 800% in programmings offered. And so then when we went to January through December, those numbers aren't nearly as impressive. We don't have an 800% increase over the course of the year, but it's still impressive. We've increased participation. We average 400 visits per month. We have more community partners than we've ever had in the past. We've established stronger relationships with the people that serve seniors in our community. And we have ongoing programming that improves not only their quality of life, but it stimulates their brain. So we're staving off Alzheimer's and all kinds of things like that. So this is an example of the Meals on Wheels report that I get on a monthly basis, and it shows an increase from January to December, 54% increase in lunches consumed, 416% increase in breakfasts consumed, and a 40% increase in participation over the course of the year. So the breakfast is important to me because it is indicative of people coming in the morning. We never used to have people coming in the morning. And now we have a steady crew that comes in, has breakfast every single day, and then also stays for lunch and programs, which is why we're there. We're there for their support. And these are the other, again, examples of activities that we never did before that we're taking on now. And then the communications department didn't exist before, so it's new for the year. So we don't have very many statistics that we can provide. Next year we'll be able to provide better numbers on increases percentage-wise. But I think that the course of the communications, we are there to provide transparency through innovative and creative communication solutions. So we exist to be able to provide information to our community members in the most transparent, clear, and accurate way possible. So our areas of concentration: communication with employees, citizens, and businesses, marketing, graphic design, et cetera. And then on the next one, we can show you where we've made some inroads. We restarted the monthly newsletter. That hadn't been done for a very long time, so we restarted that and have gotten quite a few more subscriptions on that channel. We also reinvigorated all of our social media accounts and created an Instagram account that people can pay attention to find out what's going on. We executed a web page redesign with a cleanup that's an ongoing and in-process job. Then we also created a social media and communications policy that the city will abide by. We have created a list of over 100 media outlets where we can send our information to. So anytime we have a press release, we send it out to them, and that in turn sends it off to everybody else in the DFW area. It's kind of presumptuous, I think. Everybody wants to come to Kennedale, so everybody needs to read the press release. And then we've increased the community outreach tenfold, if not 100-fold. We have quite a few more people interested in receiving information on a regular basis, and so we're reaching out, finding them, and then reaching them with the information. And in terms of our special events promotion, that's all we've been doing lately is special events promotions. So, and I think it shows in the numbers of people that attend. So, and this is just an example of some of the things we've done this year. Whether it's new, old, promotion, graphic design, or city-related activities. So, and that's it. Any questions?
First of all, I just wanted to congratulate you on such a well job you've done since you've taken over, what, 3 years now?
A year and a half.
It's only been a year and a half? It feels
Yeah.
like 3 years. Just some minor questions too. As far as, I know we just did the renovations at the library, and I know you're busting at the seams. You said you're going to work on the busting of the seams part. What are we going to do?
That's an ongoing discussion.
Okay, great. Also,
I would love to tell you what I'd like to do, but we'll talk.
I know we got the grant, excuse me, to get the printers.
Yep.
Yep. When are we going to get those?
Well, they're for the 3D printers.
Yeah.
We've purchased some of that equipment already. We have identified the 3D printer that we want, and then we've also managed to figure out how to buy a laser engraver. So we're getting that as well. So those are actually sitting in my to-buy cart at my desk.
Do you have internal policies on the use of that?
We will. Before they're deployed to the public, we will have policies on everything. Our goal, too, is to have instructional sessions for every single person who wants to use them. So before a person is let loose and allowed to use any of our equipment, they have to go through a training program.
And I know you're wearing a lot of hats, 3 of them specifically. And one of the reasons why council a few years ago merged the senior citizens under the library was to kind of, conserve budgets. How is that going with your department? I know you've grown your department since then. You've hired a few other people.
Right. Well, I think that the biggest thing for the seniors was establishing the contract with Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
That's a lifesaver, honestly, because we are able to provide not just the services of the meals, which we don't pay for the meals at all. That's part of Meals on Wheels' mission. But the activities, the programming, and the constant connection with socializing has been amazing for that department.
Have we solved the issue with the bus?
No, that's going to be a long conversation.
Okay. And then your budget's 70,000 for seniors?
50?
50? And then with the increased use of seniors, the people showing up, is that a budget constraint for you?
This year, it's not. I mean, as we start moving forward, part of the goal for Sarah is to help bring more people, including seniors, into the community area. And so we foresee it being an issue that we're going to have to address in the future. But for right now, we're okay.
Okay, and I know most of the programs that the senior center does, do we have a program for like a doctor shows up or
We've had.
flu shots or something like that?
We've had both of those, as a
Okay.
matter of fact. And we had scheduled flu shots, but the Tarrant County canceled a couple of times, so they were supposed to have come in December.
Okay. I think that was everything. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any questions for you. I just want to commend you for all your hard work and efforts, and it shows. Obviously, it looks like you've done more than 3 years worth of work in just a short time you've been here, but it shows and it's appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done in the past year and a half. You've completely turned the library around 180 degrees from what it used to be. And I'm kind of excited to see what you got coming up for this next year, because it just seems like you just keep adding more and more and more. And I mean, that's what we need. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's 3 years out, a year and a half.
All right, we're going to have the 2023 annual report of the Canada Municipal Court.
Hello, my name is Bertha Vendel. I'm the court administrator, and we've also been pretty busy over at the municipal court. A little bit about the municipal court, which a lot of people don't know. It makes up 39% of the Texas judicial system, so more people come in contact with the municipal court than any other court in Texas. And because of that, it's really important that we make a good public impression of how the judicial system works. And I feel in Canada, we do that. And that kind of takes me to our mission statement. That's me and Vera. It's just us two but mighty. The most important thing that we do is really with customer service. It is really important for us that anyone that comes into the Kennedale Municipal Court feels that they are heard and have their rights. I think you're coming ahead a little bit, sorry. Have their rights heard. But we'll skip to what we do. What we do is we interpret and adjudicate applicable state laws and support local community, providing efficient and effective services to the promotion of justice. And I feel that is one of the most important things that we do. A lot of people know that we do handle tickets issued by police officers, but we also handle tickets issued by code compliance, animal control, and even the fire marshal. The municipal court also holds many hearings. Some of the hearings that we hold are property hearings, animal seizure hearings, dangerous dog hearings, expunctions, along with bench trials and jury trials. And then we also serve as a buffer between citizens and police. So when people get tickets, they're upset with the police, they come and complain to us and we hear them. That takes us to the numbers. What we've done, I put 5 years out, 2020 and 2021. That was during the pandemic, so those numbers really are a lot smaller. But as you can see in 2023, we had a total of 1,713 cases set in court. And then for court filings, we had a total of 2,525 cases filed in the court. That includes traffic, code, penal code violations, all of those. And then our financials, in 2023, we collected $382,713 with 21 cents. And then 106 of that went to the state, but the city got to keep 276,000 of that. Warrants issued, our warrants are down, which is good, which means we are having compliance. Total amount of warrants that were issued were 1,286. As you can see, I started in November of 2021. Hardly any warrants were issued in 2021. When I got here in 2022, that's when we got caught up with all the warrants. So that's why there was such a large amount of warrants issued in 2022. And this is just a little bit of what we did in 2023. Vera, she started in November. November 27th of 2021, she went to our new clerk seminar and she tested and she became level 1. That was a 4-hour test, 300 questions, and she did all of that to better serve our citizens and anyone that comes in. We set 1,713 cases like I had discussed. That's 75% increase from 2022. And then we had 50,085 transactions, which is 21% up from 2022. We also assist the police department in implementing cell phone ticket writers. So now all the officers are able to issue citations with their cell phones. So we help them with that as well. We issued 1,286 warrants. We set 2,525 cases, which is up 36% from 2022. We collected 382,713, which is up 51% from 2022. We also participated in the Trunk or Treat, National Night Out, and the Public Safety event, which hasn't been done in years by the municipal court. So I was really happy to be able to participate in that. And one of the big things that we did this year was we designed a new municipal court webpage. If you go to the next slide, if you can click on the card, it'll take us to the webpage so we can see it. Well, if anyone can scan, we have cards, anyone can scan that QR code, it takes them to our website. We created forms and applications that people now can just apply if they want to do defensive driving, if they want to schedule a court date. All of those applications are available online. We started doing that in July of this 2023, and we've have about 135 submissions to date. So we are getting traction with that. Also, this isn't in your packet, but I wanted to include it. It's just to show how busy we've been. This is the numbers for January. In January, we had 283 court filings, which was up 125% compared to last year. We did 4,236 transactions, which is up 36% from last year. And then we collected this January $44,702, which is up 96% from last year. What was really up was our court dates. We scheduled 304 court dates this month, which is up 141% compared to last year, January. Another thing that we've added to our dashboard is now we're keeping track of how many people walk into the building that we assist. We assisted 206 people this month, just me and Vera. So we are really busy over at the court. We try to help anyone that comes in, even if it's not court related. We get a lot of people come in asking about registration, birth certificates, death certificates. We try to assist them in any way that we possibly can. by directing them to the right place. But they come in and we help them any way that we can. Our window is pretty much the first one that you see when you come in, so we pretty much greet everybody.
Does anybody have any questions?
What's the percentage that actually go to trial in front of Judge Lane?
We've had, this last year, we had our first 2 jury trials that I'm aware of that we've ever had. That's what they've told me. I've only been here for 2 years, but we had 2 jury trials and 4 bench trials.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it sounds like you're turning this department around pretty good with the help
you.
with the police
I was
department,
about to say,
fire marshal, and everybody else. So
Sir.
thank you very much for doing what you're doing. You, like I
you.
said, you completely turned it around, and it's just amazing what you're doing and your staff is doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for both of you. You're doing outstanding jobs, and it absolutely shows by your stats.
Okay, we're in regular session. Reports and announcements. Anybody got anything to report or announce?
Yes, just a reminder that the Kennedale Rotary Club's Chili Cook-Off is coming up. And I do have tickets with me for City Council. If you all need tickets, I have them with me, or anybody else who wants to go. It's Saturday, the 24th. The council will be in the Chili Cook-Off. Kenneth and I will be up there at noon cooking. So we'll look forward to that. And then we just asking that City Council help us that night and spooning it out, because I have other responsibilities I have to do with the Rotary Club that evening. It should be a great night. I've already sold about 20 tickets myself. And we'll have dignitaries there from not just the city, but from the county. And it's just a good time. And I believe last year, we had like 20 tastings. The trustees are the ones that won. I'm challenging them this year to a duel on chili cook-off. And they have accepted the challenge. So we ask that the citizens come up and vote for us over the trustees and make them the losers. Thank you.
Councilman Griff?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. One update I have at the Veterans Memorial Committee. We've been having a lot of meetings regarding the project in Town Center Park. The update is we had a meeting with MMA today. We'll be moving forward with getting some presentations put together for the February 27th meeting, EDC meeting. That's when we'll present first and then follow on to the March 19th council meeting. So a lot of good things happening there. Just recently was appointed to EDC, been able to start diving into some of our contracts and things that we have going on in the city. Looking forward to bringing in some business prospects and some developers. I've had several meetings over the last few weeks, both with the city manager and some prospects that we're looking at bringing to the city. Also attended the Death by Chocolate event with the Chamber of Commerce. And I think I would probably put chocolate on everything that was there. It was a good event. It was a lot of fun. Kenneth stole all the prizes like he usually does. But it was a good event. It was good to see everybody there, and I look forward to engaging more of the business community at future chamber events.
I have nothing to add to that. I did attend the Death by Chocolate, and I guess I'll just wait till the next council meeting to do my update. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Should have been there. Moving on to consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Approve the minutes from the January 16, 2024 regular meeting. Receive the 2023 racial profile report from the police department. Approve a resolution for the May 4th, 2024 general election. Approval for the city manager to hire 2 public works employees. Does anybody have anything they want to remove or discuss from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to remove item number 3.
Okay, item number 3.
With that being said, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda -3.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilman Navarro to approve the consent agenda, except 3, seconded by Brian Griffith. Any other discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, say raise your hand. I didn't even have to look that way. So motion carries. Councilman Griffin, you wanted to pull number 3 off the consent agenda for approval of resolution of May 4, 2024 general election. You have the floor.
I would like to make a motion to move this council into executive session to consult with the city attorney on that specific item.
This is the general election, not the special election regarding the charter.
The city
This is just to
secretary.
hold our-
This is for the general election coming up for the May election for place 2, 4, and the mayor.
Correct.
My apologies, that was,
Withdraw your motion.
okay. I'd like to withdraw the motion.
With that being
You
said,
you can't withdraw the motion.
Okay, so then-
There will have to be a separate motion made on item 3.
with that being said, I would like to approve item 3 as it stands.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Navarez to approve item 3, second by Councilman Griffith. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thanks for clarifying that, Rayanne.
Items for individual consideration. Number 1, discuss and approve an ordinance calling for a special charter election on the May 4, 2024 election.
I would like to make a motion.
Before you do your motion, what needs clarifying, I guess, on the item?
I would be more than happy to discuss that in executive session while consulting the city attorney.
Okay, we only have until February 16th to allow this to be complete, to be on the agenda, or actually on the election for May. So just keep that in mind.
I second.
At this time, we're going to be going into executive session at 6:47. Huh? Which one am I reading? There's no city attorney.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can we go ahead and do item 2, and finish what we have started before we go back to item 1? Before we go
Okay.
to executive session?
Yeah, that's the best way to do that. We'll cancel the executive session time, and then we'll go ahead and go to item 2. Consider approval of emergency rehabilitation of a 12-inch sanitary sewer line with Excel 4 Construction LLC at an estimate cost of $91,640. Mr. City Manager?
Christian? Do you mind just giving us a rundown from basically from the start to where we're at now?
Sure. So if you all, the council is not aware, we had a backup to one of our residents in the city of Kennedale here at 400 North Little School Road on December 16th. So they had to vacate their home for the Christmas holiday. With that being said, we had to do requested an emergency repair because we have a VCC pipe, which is basically vitrified clay pipe that collapsed, basically clogged, and had subsequently caused the backup. And that happened on a Saturday, and we had to come out on Sunday. We had the city of Arlington come out here and do a clog removal. Basically, they do jetting and rodding and that cleared the clog so the water could subside from the resident home. That being said, there is 2 manholes upstream and downstream, and which is 388 feet, and the entire line of that pipe is petrified clay pipe, and they're susceptible for failure at any time. So the design was to go ahead and replace that 388 feet from manhole to manhole with PVC pipe. The depth of that pipe is 12 feet deep. The diameter is 12 inches of pipe. And we're going to do that by way of pipe bursting, so we don't have a lot of intrusion on the properties to have big backhoes digging 12 feet deep. So all we're going to have are 2 pits on either side with a plunger and a cable that would pull the pipe behind it on the other end. We have selected a contractor. We sent out for a proposal, and we selected a contractor, and their estimate to date is $92,000. And we should have that installed and be out of there in probably 6 or 7 days. And at this point, all we are waiting on is the temporary right-of-way easement from the homeowner so we could get in there and do our work. You bet.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Where exactly is this again?
400 North Little School Road is by the bridge,
By the bridge?
by the creek there, before the, is that Kenny or something, that roundabout.
Okay. Okay.
One question I have for you, Christian, is with that, you said it was about 300 and how many feet?
388 feet.
388 feet. So 2 quick questions on either end of that section of pipe. Is there additional sections of pipe that?
At this stage, there will be, but it's hard to say because there's clear pipe,
That's right.
And the city's doing everything we can with the funds that we have, resources, to rehabilitate most of those pipe. And we could go back and do a point repair, but just replacing where we have the failure. But it don't make sense. If I'm already there, it makes sense to spend that money and get that entire 388 feet repaired.
I got one quick question. This failure does this pipeline, I know there's a creek that runs right there. Is there any type of contaminants that went into that creek and went downstream that we should be worried about?
The only contaminant that would have happened is because of the backup from the property.
The backup, so the backup
Not from the
overflowing
sewer
from the
line.
manhole, or
Not
the
from the
backup
sewer.
going to
From the home, yes.
Ms. Patterson's property? Okay. And then did we do anything to clean that up?
Well, it was so diluted because it's coming in from the sewer line into the home and then back into the creek that already have water, so it's diluted. And I don't know if, I don't think to date, I don't think Arlington did any chlorination or anything like that. I don't think they did. They should have, but I don't think they did.
Okay, thank you.
Also, just for your information, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson has also made a claim for that spillage that occurred inside her house.
And what about their concern about the ground?
That's something we'll confirm with Arlington. At this point, it does not appear that any contamination has taken place. The Patterson family has asked for us to confirm that, and we'll do so.
I understand how much of this town has those clay pot sewers, and I also understand we're going to replace a good 40% of that. So in areas like this, if we update that section, like Christian's proposing, would that cause any other issues around it with the clay pipes that are connecting to it?
No,
No?
no.
That's the reason why we're going from manhole to manhole.
It's better meant. Otherwise, we could, like I said, could have done a point repair where we actually had the collapse and be done with that, but it don't make sense because it's clay pipe. the possibility that the same thing is going to happen again is, who knows?
Okay. That also seems cheap. 90,000, I think the last time this happened, it was several hundred thousand.
Well,
There was a couple of,
you
we
should
got
look at
three
some of the
quotes.
other bids that came in. And, if we go to do open cut, the prices was very steep. That's why I decided then to save intrusion in private property and getting all those access and having heavy equipment. The cheapest route was to go, and the fastest route is through pipe busting.
And so the replacement, the life expectancy on that would be, what, at least last 50 years?
Unless it's PVC, it's lifetime.
Lifetime? Okay.
And the good thing, though, those things are fused, so there's no joints in it. It's like those gas lines now.
Any further questions?
I make a motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Jeff Navarez, second by Brian Griffin. Councilman Brian Griffin, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, I guess now we're going to be moving into an executive session. Pursuant to Section 55(1.07, consultation with the city attorney pertaining to any matter in which the duty of the city attorney under state Texas discipline rules of professional conduct may conflict with an open meeting act, including discussion of any item on the agenda, legal issues regarding the Open Meeting Act. We will now go into executive session at 6:56.
I do want to increase
Yeah,
it, like 30 grand.
I can assure you,
I want it to be 90, but I'll settle for it.
for the seniors, we don't need no bus.
Fine, we don't get the bus. It'd be nice if we had an option to pick them up.
Well,
Reconvene from executive session at 8:01. Is there any action necessary from executive session? The reason we went into executive session was individual consideration, decision, discuss and approve an ordinance calling for a special charter election on May 4th, 2024. Does anybody have any corrections they would like to make at this time?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make the motion to approve with the following changes. In section 3.03, in the event of a vacancy in the office of mayor, the Mayor Pro Tem shall, on the effective date of the vacancy, assume the office of mayor to serve until the next local election date that offers sufficient time to comply with the requirements of the election code. The council seat vacated by the new mayor shall be filled according to section 3.06 of this charter. A new mayor pro tem shall be selected according to this section 3.03. In section 3.06, in the event of a vacancy on the city council in a seat other than the mayor, the city council may call a special election or by a majority vote of all remaining council members appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy to serve until the next local election date that offers sufficient time to comply with the requirements of the election code. A member of the governing body is ineligible to vote to fill a vacancy after resigning from the governing body.
Anybody like to make a motion for that?
He just did.
Did you? I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilman Gribb, second by Councilman Navarez. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. I have a motion for an adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilman Navarez, second by Councilman Griffin. All in favor, raise your hand. We are adjourned at 8:04.